Welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders Set of Six. This is our weekly news show where we share the good, the great and the noteworthy of Rugby League outside the Heartlands. My name's Craig.
And my name's Karl, and on this week's Set of Six we'll be talking about the World Cup qualifiers. We'll have an update on the Scottish Grand Final, and we'll also be talking about Sam Tomkins' return.
And welcome back to our weekly news show. Later on, we're going to be talking about the cards that's been dished out in the Super League and the Williams Weekly. But before we get into that, we've got 6 other interesting news stories. So, Karl, what have you picked out for us this week?
Well, I think tackle one, it's only right we talk about the Rugby League World Cup. It's been announced it's in Australia, which we kind of all knew that anyway.
Well, a couple of games in Papua New Guinea as well, innit?
Yeah, no real surprise though whether there. I think everybody knew that's where it was going to be. But the World Cup qualifiers have been announced. It's going to be between Serbia, Wales, France and the Ukraine. So some new teams in there.
Yeah, some really interesting stuff. So am I right in thinking that they are all playing for the one sort of European place in the World Cup?
Yeah, so there's just the one, like you said, there's the one spot in the World Cup left. So it's going to be like a European sort of tournament. There's going to be 2 semi-finals and a final. So, like I said, France are going to play Ukraine. It's great news. Serbia v Wales. So you've got to say that Wales and France are probably 2 favourites in there. But it's great news for Serbia and it's great news for Ukraine because I know they've put a lot of work in to really focusing on international rugby and the game's really growing and it's they've been rewarded really, haven't they? They now have a shot at the World Cup. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, there's obviously Ireland not in there, Scotland not in there, but I don't think they're fully fledged members of the International Rugby League, are they? They're missing on a few points.
That's
why they've not been included.
Earlier on in the year, the International Rugby Board downgraded some of the nations for various reasons that they haven't played enough games or the domestic competition's not as strong as it should be. So, which just shows you how far Serbia have come. I'll go through Serbia's games who they've played this year. So they've played 5 internationals this year. They beat Greece, Italy, and Czech Republic.
Czechia.
And they lost to Netherlands, and they've also played France this year. So they've played 5 internationals this year, which is great to see. But it also begs the question is why we haven't seen some of the other nations who are more established play any fixtures.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing. We've had this conversation before, and actually we've had this conversation with Adam Bates, the team manager of the Ireland team, and it is a little bit sad, and we really do, for what it's worth, put a shout out there for British Rugby League to get behind these teams, and we've got to be sort of creating a plan to get them involved in the World Cup in the future. Otherwise, I don't know. It's just sad. It's just sad.
Yeah, 100%. There's only going to be 2 Northern Hemisphere sides in the World Cup, isn't there? I'm thinking about it. England have qualified automatically, and then there'll be one from this European qualifier side. Thoughts on a reduced World Cup? What do you think about that?
Like same again. I mean, I get it. It just seems like the world of international rugby league is shrinking, and I don't like the idea of that because there's a saying in business that if you're not growing, you're dying, and it kind of feels a little bit like that's what's happening. Maybe other people can tell me it's not the case, and the strength in those teams, mean that they're just unable to play in a World Cup. But you can't help but thinking, look, we've got to be 2 things. I think the International Rugby League has got to be coming up with some way where we can get teams as members. Not just put out a lot of restrictions. Right, okay, these is what the criteria need to get to. Like, let's have a bit of push and pull and get these teams as fully fledged members so they can take part. Then, we need obviously more funding, more promotion, whatever of those teams to get them involved. Otherwise, we're just not going to have any. It's not just not growing, is it? And you compare it to other sports that just seem to be flourishing right now, and it's just a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, it feels like by downgrading some of these nations, all we've done is just put up more barriers.
Yeah,
and it's going to make it even harder for some of these nations to ever get into a World Cup again. So I'll go through the the 4 remaining. So there's going to be 4 areas, continents, playing off against each other for the final 2 spots. I'll put into context there. So the Pacific Islands is going to be represented by the Cook Islands because all the other nations have already qualified for the World Cup. So
automatic qualification.
Yeah, because they reached at least the quarterfinals in the last World Cup. So Cook Islands are going to be in there. The Americas, it's going to automatically be Jamaica. So there's no tournament happening there this year because USA have been downgraded. Canada have been downgraded. Well, they haven't been downgraded.
Yeah.
But they...
I thought America was playing, like the USA Hawks were playing...
They have been playing in Europe recently.
No, I think they've got a game coming up, haven't they? We'll cut this out if it's wrong.
They may do, but it's not a...
it's not a qualifying match or anything like that.
It's not a World Cup qualifier because they're not classed as a tier 1. No, what is it? How do they?
Yeah, fully fledged member.
Yeah,
like
they're not classed as a fully fledged international rugby member. So, whereas in the last tournament you had USA playing Canada to qualify for the World Cup. Now, because they're not fully fledged members, they're not even competing. So again, Jamaica automatically through. So there's another missed tournament that we're going to lose.
Well, two games straight away, Canada, USA, it's just... And possibly 2 of the most exciting sporting nations in the world as well, missing out on it. Come on, have some forethought and think, look, let's just get these in. Let's come up with a wildcard system or something where we just go, look, right, there's a chance that this could grow into something massive in America. And Canada. Look out, Toronto, right, it fell by the wayside. But there was loads of excitement and an appetite for the game. And even the British players, by all accounts, I don't know, because I'm not one of them, were really excited to play there. So have a wildcard system that gets them in and just gives them the opportunity to have a taste of it. And then maybe we can spark something big, and little acorns become big oak trees, and who knows.
World Cups are the way to grow sport, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Even if you put all the lower tiered countries into one group so that only maybe one of them can progress into the further rounds. I don't know. Anyway, European. So that's a positive. At least we're going to have a tournament in Europe to see who qualifies for the World Cup. So we've got one positive there. And then Middle East and Africa, you're going to have South Africa go through automatically. Funnily enough, this is where you're potentially going to lose another team. So Lebanon have already qualified, because they qualified automatically because they made the quarterfinals in the last World Cup. Now, if they hadn't have automatically qualified, they wouldn't be in this tournament either, because again they're not a fully fledged member of the International Rugby Board. It's crazy.
It seems to be.
It just doesn't seem right. And I know that probably it's down to reduced costs. They had as many years to put this World Cup on and all the rest of it. But we seem to be losing important fixtures from the international calendar left, right and centre.
It's always the tip of the iceberg that we get into. Like, we don't know the depth of research that's gone into this and what the aims of it. And the International Rugby League might have their hands tied in certain departments or whatever. I don't know, but I just love more context around this. So if anybody has got more context, if they know more than the average person, please share it, because at the minute it just looks a little bit bleak and doesn't look fair. Because there's some really keen players and there's lots of players around the world that qualify for other nations, and chances are, unless they can get in with another team, they ain't gonna feature in a World Cup. Okay, staying into International Rugby League, in a fashion, French Rugby League, and there was a massive return for an iconic player, Sam Tomkins, this weekend.
Yeah, Sam Tomkins made his return to Catalan Dragons less than 12 months since he retired from Rugby League. He actually had a really good game, didn't he? I watched this match, and I've seen some really funny comments on it saying he reffed the match better than he played. But I did think he had a really good game. And he could be that little bit of spark that Catalan have been missing this year, I think. We've
said this all along, and we talked about it last week, and we're saying he's fresh, you know what I mean? He's hungry. He's got lots of expectations. That he was at the start of the game, arms out wide, saying, I'm back, you know what I mean? Like, he's buzzing off it. Didn't he? And he went on to have a cracking game, including scoring a try and having another try chalked off. So, and involved in lots of other tries and incidents as well.
Well, so, you knew he were a main man because he got targeted, didn't he? By the opposition. He
And why wouldn't
he got one smacked round the chops. They tried to pepper him with a few high bombs and take him out.
Liggy Sow gave him an absolute belter.
Yeah, but he took it all in his stride, as you would expect from Sam Tomkins. He's a quality player, isn't he? It was I just thought there's not much more I can say on this other than that I just thought he had a really good game. And we joked, didn't we, last week? Did we say, do you think he'll get the man of the match?
Yeah.
Yeah, he won't far off, where I don't think anybody at Sky Sports quite had the bottle to give one of their own hosts man of the match, but he couldn't have been far off because I thought he had a really good game. Yeah,
he was definitely very close. Julien Bousquet picked up that honour, but and Bousquet did some great stuff. Real tough competitor in the middle there, but I thought Sam Tomkins he orchestrated a lot. I think if he hadn't dropped that ball early on, he may well have got it.
Bit of a damp start, but it was that direction on the field that seemed to make the difference for Catalan. That extra talking head in the referee's ear, in the referee's ear constantly for 80 minutes. But yeah, he stayed
the fifth official.
The fifth official, yeah.
You heard it here first.
he steered them around the park really well, I thought, and it's interested to see how Catalan go for the rest of the year.
Karl, just looping back to, we spoke about Sam Tomkins last week, and you posed the question, what will he go down in history as? Like an iconic Wigan player, an iconic Catalan player. And I had a bit of kickback from that. What was the kind of outcome of that?
Well, there was obviously a lot of Wigan fans said no. He clearly had his best years at Wigan, and he'll always be remembered as a Wigan legend. I'm still on the fence. I am.
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the fence, but because I'm neither a Wigan fan nor a Catalan fan.
I'm definitely not a Wigan fan.
But I tell you what, he did finish in iconic fashion last year. He literally snatched victory and got them to the grand final within the dying seconds of the last sort of playoff match. Do you remember?
Yeah. So, but he's got to rewrite his story again now, hasn't he? So now his stories that he came back, and if it ends up in damp fashion, then interesting. However, this might not be his last season.
Oh, why are you saying that?
So I sat in the press conference, didn't I, with him last week?
Yeah.
And although we weren't allowed to record it, which is a bit of a shame, he was posed that question and said, "Is this your last swan song?" I said, "Or is there potential that he might be playing next year as well?" And he didn't rule it out.
No, well, he did the same last year. He said, retirement, and if anything, blah, 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 then, I'm not ruling anything out. And it's like, all right, so you're playing again then. That's why we called it at the start of the season.
Yeah, I think if he has a strong year this year and Catalan, do well in the playoffs and he's feeling fit, I'm pretty sure we'll see him next year.
From France, we're going to go north of the border now with our story up in Scotland, and the Rugby League season is coming to an end up there, Karl.
Yeah, Edinburgh Eagles are going to be taking on Glasgow in the Scottish final, so we managed to capture an exclusive interview, and here it is.
Okay, we're going to head north of the border now, and we're going to speak to Mikey Mayer of Edinburgh Eagles ahead of the Scottish final. Hello, Mikey.
Hi, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks. Just start us off. I mean, how excited are you ahead of this final? What does it mean to you?
I think myself, the whole club's buzzing. There was a bit of a transition period from last year to this year, and the whole league kind of going through a bit of transition period. So to go 3 from 3 for the first 3, and then we had a lot of injuries and like people on holiday that we kind of we lost the last game, but everybody's buzzing to get back into the final. We've been training well, and it looks like it'll be full numbers at training again this Wednesday. But it just seems to be a good buzz about the club in general, which is pleasing because I came in as obviously playing, but stepped up to helping out with the coaching as well. So to do that and see the positive smiley faces on all the guys is great.
Mikey, how's this season overall gone this year? I'm sort of talking Scottish Rugby League in a broad sense. We had many full games and many cancellations. Any new teams crop up this year?
Well, we've had a couple of teams drop out. Unfortunately, Aberdeen, there was a few issues, so they didn't put a team in this year. But they're usually a strong team, so hopefully they can get things sorted behind the scenes and enter the league next year. Fife never made an appearance again. There was rumours that they were going to come back on the scene, along with Strathmore, but that didn't happen. It's only been three clubs this year, but it's been very competitive. Glasgow were the whipping boys the last couple of years, and they've been very competitive and deserved a place in the final this year. But in terms of growing the game, this season's been it's been good for the whole of Scottish Rugby League and everybody watching as well. So hopefully next year it'll grow a bit more and they'll grow arms and legs after that.
Mikey, I'm just wondering, who in your team do you think really deserves to appear in this final? Who's been a standout player and deserves a little bit of recognition?
I think the consistent guys that have been training week in, week out and being available for games. Guy that I managed to persuade to come and play again this year was Big Johnny. He's came in, he's gave 100%, wears his heart on his sleeve, and he trains week in, week out. So for me, he's been a standout. But equally, the whole group of lads, everybody that's been asked to pull on a shirt, has stepped up. They've trained well. So probably, apart from Johnny, I think everybody else is probably about the same. You know, I wouldn't say that anybody's head and shoulders above everybody else. We all deserve our chance. So it'll be a very competitive selection. So there'll be a few disappointed lads out there, but equally everybody that's picked will step up and do a job.
And Mikey, what's the history of the cup final in Scotland? I know you're defending champions, aren't you? Have you predominantly been one of the strongest sides in Scotland for a couple of years? Yeah,
well, I started playing with the Eagles in 2018, and we've never lost the title. We've dominated Scottish Rugby League since then, and we had a few years out of the league because we wanted to go a little bit further. So we played in the North East England League for a few seasons, where we won the grand final down there, which was tremendous to win a league title, but a league title south of the border. And we're trying to grow the club. I think if COVID never hit, the plan was to hopefully grow Edinburgh to become maybe an NCL side after competing quite competitively in the North East League. But I think COVID was a real setback for a lot of clubs, north and south, because I know the North East League now is in tatters and probably less competitive than the Scottish League now. So we rejoined up in the Scottish League, and it started to grow again, which was a great decision for the club to do.
Mike, I just wonder how much geography plays a part in this final. Is there rivalry between the two big cities there in Scotland, or is it not really a factor?
I think it is. The two games that we played were very, I wouldn't say heated, but very competitive, and there's always that niggle between East versus West, Edinburgh, Glasgow. Regardless of sports, it's having the whole bragging rights to Scotland. You've obviously got football clubs through here like Hibs and Hearts, and then Rangers, Celtic through the West. There's always that niggle between the supporters and the clubs, and I would probably say in the same way with rugby as well. So yeah, it's going to be, I think it'll be quite a fiery clash. Everybody seems to be up for it on both sides, so hopefully it's an exciting game for the spectators as well. We're definitely up for it, and I know through speaking to some lads through in the Glasgow camp, they're equally up for it and excited. So yeah, there's been a bit of banter back and forward, but all in good jest.
Yeah, Mikey, it's been great to hear about Scottish Rugby League. I wish you the best luck, and Glasgow, I wish you both the best luck this weekend in the Scottish final. Appreciate you taking the time out and coming on and speaking to us, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Mikey.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Okay, really good. He speaks well, doesn't he? He speaks really well, not just for his own team, but for the whole of Scottish Rugby League. So good to see Edinburgh Eagles back in the league up there. What do you take from that, Karl?
Just like any area outside the heartlands, that, like you've said, people want the sport to grow, and it's not just about their individual side. So I took that away from the interview. He's shouting out all the Scottish rugby, and although they don't have many teams there, it's good to hear that we do have a league, and it's stronger than the North East League as well.
Yeah, that was quite interesting for me. I love the idea of the Glasgow-Edinburgh rivalry playing a part, and I'm sure you can feel that on the pitch. Interestingly, we're looking at doing a tour up to Scotland, yourself and I, and interviewing not only the lads from Edinburgh Eagles, but also Martin Gill and others from Edinburgh Giants. Now, that's all to be confirmed, but that's what we're pushing for. There's a few logistical things to go, but we really want to get north of the border and share some rugby league stories from up there in Scotland.
Yeah, the wheelchair division is doing really well, and they've had all sorts going on up there since the inception of Edinburgh Giants. They had like a north versus south tournament take place this year. They've had a strong Scottish wheelchair side, so looking forward to getting into that part of Scottish Rugby League as well and find out many more stories.
And Martin Gill, of course, the reigning guest of the year.
Yeah, we're going to get him to choose this year's guest of the year. How's it work?
We need to do one of those TikTok videos where he's got the trophy and then he throws it off the camera and it goes to the next person or something like that.
Fair enough.
What could possibly go wrong?
I'll get into a bit more local rugby then. So the Midlands division has concluded the league table. We've come to an end and we've got to the playoffs, and a little bit of a damp ending. There's a couple of games that were cancelled this weekend, which was a shame because it kind of determined the playoffs without the fixtures actually taking place. I think the Swinton and Coventry game didn't take place, and Leamington v Sherwood didn't take place. And those teams were all vying positions based on points difference. So it's a little bit of a shame. But we have got the semi-finals confirmed. So you've got Telford Raiders at home. They've finished joint top, I believe, with Nottingham. They'll be playing Sherwood Wolfhunt. Cracker. It's going to be a great game, that was.
Yeah,
I'm hoping I can get to that one. And then Nottingham Outlaws will be taking on Birmingham Bulldogs. Again, two great sides. I still can't call this league this year.
No,
it's going to be a great end to the year.
Yeah, and there's been a few ups and downs. Like Telford got off to a bit of a wobbly start. Sherwood, have lost at least one game where I'm thinking, I didn't expect that at all. So it's going to be an interesting finish. From what you could kind of predict as like the big four in that league there. Real tough time of the year as well, as some of the union players start leeching back to their union clubs. So absolutely anything to play for here.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to see who comes out on top. And then we've got a full calendar after that as well. So the representative games will be taking place after that. I know the Midlands and the South, they're all sort of coaching squads are starting to look at players for their squads for this year. And then it's going to be the Harry Jepson final. It's going to be taking place same day as the SCL final again, I believe. So, yeah, it's a full calendar to happen even after the finals. Great stuff.
And, of course, we're hoping to get to the SCL final and
the Harry Jepson.
And the Harry Jepson this year as well. So, yeah, really exciting. Okay, we always try and pick out a little bit of trending news, and none more so than Sam Lasoni's elbow onto Olly Russell. So let's get into this, Karl. This is a big talking point with two clear sides. People are split on this. What's your take?
The people's elbow, I think it's been referred to online as well. Not just an elbow. Yeah, look, he took it in, didn't he? As he does like a wrecking ball.
Absolute ball, yeah.
Lifted his elbow slightly. I've got to say slightly.
I don't think there's a slightly. I think he definitely lifts his elbow, but it's the timing of the connections.
Yeah, hang on. Right, if you've got a ball and you're running, how the hell are you meant to run without lifting your arms?
No. No, that's not what I'm saying. You're saying he lifted his elbow slightly. Now, straight away, people are going to go, no, he didn't lift his elbow. The strike might have been upper part of his chest, but eventually his elbow...
Let's just get into it then, straight off.
Right.
Do you think it was an illegal act? Do you think it was a yellow card or a red card?
I think potentially a yellow card. I don't think it was a red card because I think he struck bicep to the upper part of the chest. Whether he made contact with the head, I don't know. There's definitely like a head rock. But I just think, like, sometimes I look at stuff and I look at, like, the inverse of stuff. So instead of looking at what did happen, what didn't happen, right? Now, Olly Russell is still with us, okay? He's still conscious. He's not in a freaking... Now, I think if Sam Lasoni the pace that he was moving, with the force that he struck Ollie Russell with, if it had connected with his chin or anything above that, he would have been cleaned out. And it was, and that didn't happen. He continued with the. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking how tough Ollie Russell is. He's a tough little cookie, right? But I'm saying he wasn't absolutely cleared out with a broken jaw. Okay, so I don't think it was as bad as the people that want it to be is. I think there is a real strong
fans.
Yeah, I think there is a real strong talking point as to the rules of the law.
There's a few talking points there, isn't there?
Yeah, but my take on it is, I think in the good of the game, it was close. It was very close and could have been much, much worse. Therefore, yellow card, right? Not a red.
Tend to agree with you, actually, because
for the first time ever.
Yeah, for the first time ever on one of Williams' weekly rants. Like I said, if you're running in full pelt, there's no way you can keep that arm down. And
no.
And
I agree.
Anybody's going to brace for impact when you've got three players about to smash you.
Yeah,
essentially.
I agree.
I don't think he intentionally lifted his elbow.
No malice.
No, I don't think there was any malice there. So yellow card, I probably agree with you. It should have been a yellow card. The next talking point.
Well, can I just put in there? So I saw a tweet, a comment on Ollie Russell's tweet, actually, which we'll talk about in a bit, no doubt. Right, and if you go on the internet, there's a load of clips of Sam Lazzoni doing a similar thing on other players and just leaving them on the floor. This is part of his game.
Yeah.
Right. So in your hit sheet the week before, identify that and don't fucking put your head anywhere near Sam Lazzoni's elbow, because he's gonna hit you. He's gonna hit you with the arm,
yeah.
And in the process of bumping you off, that elbow's coming up. Sort your tackle technique out, because he will wipe you out. I don't know what my point is there, but I think I'm just saying, that's what he does. It's part of his game. So players need to kind of adapt a little bit to it.
Yeah. Next bit that we got to mention, obviously, the on-field decision. There was nothing given.
Well, there was no decision because they can't make a decision, can they?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the point. Everybody saw it on the screen because a try came not long after, did they? Moments after there was a try.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody saw it up on big screen. Everyone's calling for him to be sent off.
Well, not everyone.
Okay. All the Huddersfield fans are calling for him to be sent off, right?
Yeah.
So should we be making video ref decisions that go back and look over old footage, or do you think it's a case of, no, it was missed on the field, therefore it just gets reviewed in the match review panel after?
Yeah, it's a tough one because, we were speaking last week, I think Williams' week last week is like play acting, do we need to cut it out? Now,
don't get me started on Liam Marshall.
Well, but the play acting is something we need to get right. I actually think John Wilkin made a great point, right? The rules need to be changed where the video referee can interfere, or not interfere. I think the reason why he can't is because of the idea of interference with the flow of the game.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It'd just be crackers. But in the same token, if it was deemed strong enough to be a yellow card, he should have at least had 10 minutes on the bench to cool down, or for the situation to cool down. So
right, okay, so I'm going to put this to you, right? Your video referee. So you'd go through, talking through how you would do, there's no mitigating circles, blah, blah, blah. Your video referee, right? Leeds have just scored 3 tackles before he hit him with the elbow.
Well, 3 tackles is too much, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the next stop in play.
No, it's not. Cause
hang on. So that's the next stop in play.
No, because once a tackle's made, that's a stop in play.
No, it's not a stop in play. The game's so fast that it's not a stop in play.
Right.
So Leeds scored, try's been given. Do you then
chalk off the try?
Yeah, or do you just have a word in the referee's ear? There was an illegal hit. He's got to go off for 10 minutes.
Yeah, you see, you can't, can you? Because then you've got to chalk off the try. Because then there's been a penalty that would have affected the game. And they've gone on and scored.
Right, okay.
It's tough, isn't it?
So you're keeping him on, right? You that's your decision. You're keeping him on. Sam Lazzoni is now going to play for the next 60 minutes. But if you'd have made that decision, it'd have been in the bin. So you're now affecting the rest of the game.
I know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a real tough one. What about you? What do you think?
I think he should have still gone. I think the try should stand because I don't think you can ever really stop the flow of play If you have seen, I don't know. I mean, I'm questioning myself now.
No, I was. I thought I had this nailed, but I'm questioning. When you start playing it out and you look at different circumstances,
I don't think you can chalk a try off, can you? That's happened something that's happened 3 plays before.
Well, you can if it was scored. Because on the result of foul play.
How far do you go back?
Exactly.
That's the question.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying 3 tackles is too much.
Well, maybe we've got to put this out to people in the comments then.
Well, I mean, people are talking about it now, you know what I mean? But, it does deserve some deeper thought than just, should have been off, booing for the rest of the game.
Which they did.
Anyway, fundamentally, right, I think if it had been... Well, here's the other talking point. If Olly Russell had stayed down, then he would have been, I think he would have walked.
Actual full respect to Olly Russell for not staying down because of what we spoke about last week, about players play acting and staying down for penalties. You got to commend him for what he did. He just got on with the game. He's not a player that's been built to lay on the floor just to get a penalty. So, yeah, he put a tweet out, didn't he, after the match? Just bring it up on screen now, basically saying, it's not in his game, and I respect him for that.
Yeah, he's the hero of this.
Yeah,
he's the hero of this sort of thing. We're talking about the elbow and whether it was a thing and all this, but there's an absolute hero there, and these is just one of the interesting talking points. I think what I don't want this to become is like a big negative for the game. Do you know what I mean? Like people going, the game's shit, the game's gone soft and all that. No, it hasn't. We've got to iron these issues out, to progress. That's progress.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of rugby league fans where it's just like very fatalist. Something's not quite right or something goes wrong and that's it, the game's doomed. And it's like, that's the
standard rugby league fans answer.
I know, but this is what I'm saying. This shouldn't be...
This is the reason we never get big sponsors and things like that, because there's so much negative...
Yeah.
Eddie Hearn said it, didn't he? He said, rugby league's biggest problem is its fans. Because he says even the fans want it to fail. He says it's just crazy.
Yeah, we do. It is like a bit of a race to the bottom. But
anyway, we were talking about players faking injuries. That was sort of the hot topic last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Olly Russell, fair play to him. He didn't. He just got up and got on with it. Did you see the Liam Marshall incident this week?
Yeah, I did see it. You
see him dip his own head into the floor to get a penalty. That's what he did.
Yeah.
He knew he was...
Well, it's what it looked like he did.
Well, it looked like he did to me, and I've watched it. He knew he was getting tipped slightly over the horizontal, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
He was going to get put down fairly safely. I'm pretty certain he stuck his head out into the ground to make it look worse than it did.
But it was, I mean, it's desperate.
This is a ball carrier, just didn't like it at all. I spotted it straight away. I was like, he's done that on purpose. But Burgess said that in the presser after. He said, how can we be getting a player sent to the sin bin when essentially the ball carrier has put himself in a dangerous position?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like it.
Yeah, definitely some interesting talking points there and interesting incidents and two sides of the same coin, really. You had one player, absolute hero, that's like refuses to go down, getting belted by a 150 kilo bloke. And then you've got another player putting themselves into a dangerous position to win the penalty. That I've spoke about this terminology, win the penalty. That you shouldn't be win the penalty. You should be awarded a penalty because of foul play. You shouldn't win it. It's not a competition to go out there and this ain't.
Yeah.
We refuse to talk about this sport normally, but it ain't football. You know what I mean? However, sorry, but
bleep that out.
Yeah. Anyway, so should we crack on? Have we?
Yeah, we've killed that off.
Well, I mean, there's no real answer, have we?
No.
It is a complicated situation, and there's a couple of things that needs to happen. One is we can't reward play acting. Hence, we've got to encourage players not to sort of, stay down and all that kind of thing. However, we also need to eradicate those moments where it is kind of dodgy. Now, the start of the season, that's like a 12-match ban, 8-match ban, something like that.
Yeah, it was at the start of the season, yeah.
We've got to have some some protection for players as well. So yellow cards. Not too long ago, John Bateman got sent off twice in the same game. Do you remember that? Anyway, so our next story, we're talking about John Bateman's return to British soil.
Yeah, we're against St Helens, that one.
Yeah,
Wigan Saints. Yeah, so John Bateman has re-signed for Warrington Wolves. Not re-signed. He's signed for Warrington Wolves. He's gone out on loan from West Tigers. Load of news about this in the Aussie press. Has he had a fallout with the Wests? Are his performances not up to scratch anymore? And there's also the little bit of a talking point is, how the hell are Warrington affording him?
Oh, no, it's crackers. He's definitely had a fallout.
Yeah.
You know, that seems to be very evident. And interestingly, it seems to be that he thought that like the senior players at West Tigers were treated like kids and the kids were treated like heroes or senior players.
I read that, yeah. So him and old Benji have had a bit of a
fallout, and that's led to, you know, him falling out of favour and heading back to British soil, to Warrington. But potentially a big signing. I don't know if John Bateman is the player that he was perhaps 6-7 seasons ago. I'm not saying he's not class and he's a hard grafter and he's a no compromise, no nonsense player. And perhaps coming in to replace, I mean, if he stays long term, Matty Nicholson, who's on his way out.
They have said that it's a temporary move until the end of the season, but if the rumours are to be believed, the fallout that's happened at West Tigers, he's not going to be going back there, is he, next year? So be interested to see where he lands up. Interestingly, though, this move I don't think would have ever happened if you didn't have Sam Burgess at Warrington this year. I think.
Yeah, I don't think he'd have gone to Warrington.
No, I don't. I just could never have imagined John Bateman at Warrington. You would have just sort of said Wigan through and through, wouldn't you? But like, it's the mark of having such a high profile coach there. He's pulling in these big players. Warrington's playoffs hope, what do you think it does to that? Do you think it increases the chances?
I think Warrington doing incredibly well without John Bateman. I don't think he brings a great deal more to the team than the players they've already got, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I agree.
It gives them a little bit of strength there. Maybe I don't know how it'll be received by the crowd. I think you'd like to think a big player like that coming back from the NRL would increase some interest in the team. But
it seems like a weird move at this time of the season, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, agreed.
You would have thought Warrington's squad is really settled now, especially after watching them at the weekend. They played probably the best game of the season, just gone.
Yeah,
you would have thought that team's really settled. To bring in a big personality like John Bateman at this time of the season does seem strange. I'm trying to think back to other times where teams have made a big signing close to the playoffs. The one that springs to mind, I think it was Adrian Morley came to Bradford from South Sydney just for the playoffs.
Yeah, Andrew Johns went to Warrington.
Yeah, but that wasn't just for the playoffs, was it?
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it?
Was it?
Well, it was definitely late in the season, wasn't it?
I can't remember. I thought he was there for the full season.
Correct us in the comments. I'm sure you will. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Is it? I don't know. There's lots of speculation from me, which I don't really want to get into. We'll talk about it off air, perhaps. But if nothing else, be interesting to see it unfold.
Yeah, I suppose it adds to the excitement of the Super League. I think that's a good way to finish.
Right, so we're going to stick to... We've had a little bit of a theme running through this week's episode, and that is the cards, the theme of cards. Now, Williams Weekly this week, I've got actually the table of all the teams and the cards that they've received. And I don't mean like birthday and Christmas cards, but right. So I've got the league, and I'm just going to do like a little bit of a quick fire test.
Go on.
To see if you know. Right. So who do you think's the team that's had the? Oh, by the way, this was produced by Love Rugby League, so credit to them for creating this little table. It's interesting reading. Who do you think's had the least cards this year?
Am I basing this on club reputation, or who actually thinks had the?
Well, maybe there's two answers for you there. But
if I was basing it on club reputation, right, I'd say Lee are probably right up there.
What is in the most?
Yeah.
No, I'm going the least.
Oh, least. London.
Yeah, okay, London, yeah. London's top. They've had 4 yellows, that's it.
What am I guessing the rest of them?
I think there's 2 else is up there. The least cards.
Least cards. Salford.
Ooh, third highest.
Oh, right, so miles off with that
Miles off, yeah. What was you thinking behind that? Just interesting.
They don't come across as a very dirty side.
Yeah.
Castle has got to be. I don't think Cass have had many.
Yeah, Cass second in the league. They've had 5 cards total, 3 yellows, 2 reds. So yeah,
who's top of that then with least amount of cards?
London, 4 cards.
Oh, so
4
I did
yellows.
get that right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on then. So who's had the most cards?
Right, based on club reputation.
Yeah.
I'm going to get loads of stick for this.
Yeah,
I know. Lee Leopards have got to be up there.
Right, Leah's second with 12 cards, 12 yellows, no reds.
12 yellow cards.
That's interesting, isn't it? Like you're saying they're dirty, but they've had no reds.
Yeah, it's good going, collecting 12 yellow cards, though. Who else who would I expect to be up there? I'd expect Wigan to be up there.
Wigan, middle of the table with joint 9 with Huddersfield.
I suppose that's Matty Peake cleaning the reputation up a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Gareth Hock years are behind them now, aren't they? Who else would I expect? Which other team would I think is quite... Hull FC have got to be up there. Hull FC are definitely up there.
Yeah, you're right. Hull FC at the top, but with 13 yellows and 4 reds. So
13 yellows and 4 reds.
Yeah, it's massive, isn't it? Karl, what do you take from that? I'll share the table with you. You can see that on the thing. But what do you take from this? Like is there a correlation between the number of cards and the position of teams in the table? Are there clubs out there where their identity is playing on the edge and perhaps having a little bit of a dirty edge to them? And the inverse of that is, are there teams that make a living on being a clean team? And
there's not much of a correlation, is there really?
It doesn't seem to be.
Okay, Hull FC have had the most cards and they're bottom of the table. So
London bottom of the table, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, Hull FC are near the bottom of the table. So
but what the point you're making there, that puts that out, I think, because you're London's the least,
because
Hull's the most, and they're both sitting at the bottom of the table.
Right, okay, so you've got the high flyers are all middle of the road, actually.
Yeah, playing it middle of the road.
Saints, Wigan, Warrington. So Warrington are 4th, Wigan are 6th, Saints are 7th. Hull KR haven't had many cards.
No.
So they're sitting in 10th. So they've had 7 yellows. So no, there actually, I don't think there is a correlation between numbers of cards and league position.
The only correlation I can see that there's possibly, and it is just looking at a few digits on the page, is possibly a fine line between not being rugged enough, not being thinking enough, London, and being overzealous, Hull. Right? But if you can get in the middle of the table there with sort of a reasonable amount of cards, you stand yourself of being top of the table.
That's rugby league all over, though, isn't it? It's fine lines, between being on the wrong side of the law and the right side of the law. We only got to go back to Lissoni's challenge at the weekend, and we're talking millimetres, aren't we? Between red card and no card. So I think you've hit the nail on the head really there.
I'm wondering I'd like to do a little bit more digging on this data as well, right? I wonder, right?
Go on.
The cynic in me, right? How much has the RFL made off those cards?
Ooh. Well,
that's an interesting point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I'm not saying they're dishing out cards to make revenue, but they're going to make some money off that.
What's the average?
It's got about like 250 quid.
250 quid is the average, isn't it? For
I don't know, but I mean,
no,
it seems
I see
average.
I see 250 quid is the price that seems to get bandied about all the time for like a red card.
Yeah,
I think if you do something serious, it goes up to about 750.
Yeah.
So so there's a bit of cash to be earned there, isn't there, for the RFL?
Yeah. Well, there is, isn't there? But there's like $3,000 worth of cards there for Hull FC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and say the average is 1,500 quid across all teams. Times that by the 12 teams. There's a bit of cash, like, you know what I mean? That
pays for.
I know it's pittance compared to the cost to run the Super League.
Yeah,
and all
pays
that,
for putting an international on or something like that.
Yeah.
Pitch higher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, right, Karl. So another interesting set of 6 there. We always do a little look forward. What's coming up this week in the world of the Rugby League Outsiders?
We've got our predictions episode dropping tomorrow, as we always do. gaining a different audience, that, isn't it, Craig? All of a sudden, we've got people who just come to listen to our ramblings of Super League predictions, which are usually pretty terrible. Well,
and that's on the back of what is probably going to be a pinnacle or pivotal week.
Yes,
the games, the results this weekend were just out there. Some of them we just could not predict. So that'll be an interesting video. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and then we've got an episode with Mark Almond of Aston Warriors. He's been involved in Rugby League in the Midlands for
30 odd years.
30 odd years, yeah, pretty much since the inception of Birmingham Bulldogs. He's now got his own club, the Aston Warriors. We've got a full podcast with him dropping this week, and that is a great episode for a couple of reasons, isn't it, Craig?
Yeah, I really enjoyed listening to him. He talks well. He's not just about rugby and rugby in the Midlands, but also his introduction of rugby. He's like he was a little tyke on the streets of Birmingham, found Rugby League, thought he had a bit about him, and then Rugby League taught him a lesson there. So that's interesting. But also his background in the film industry.
Yes.
No one likes a name dropper until, right, he's got like mega interesting stories behind it. And he did, it was just really good to listen to him. And I really enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, so that episode drops on Thursday. Make sure you check it out. It's a fascinating episode. And then the last announcement, we've kind of touched on this before, but we are going to have some of our podcast episodes are going to be dropping on Switch Radio, which is radio station in Birmingham. 3rd of August, the first one goes out. That is also a different Aston Warriors episode.
Yeah, and what I'm excited about that is, we started this to form a platform to share good stories about rugby league, beyond the Heartlands, and this is another route to market, if you like. We're on the radio, and there's players out there that are having a cracking season, and all of a sudden they can feature on the radio. So please give it a listen and comment. I think it's a little bit of a trial at first, so any feedback that we can get on that, we can pass on to the station and make this a permanent fixture. So really excited about that. So I always ask Karl, any final words from you?
No.
Okay, so thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed already and you want more news stories like this, then make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to get a notification as new videos drop. And also, feedback is the breakfast of champions. We want your comments. We want to take this podcast to a different level. So let us know what we're doing well. Let us know what could be improved, and we'll really work on that. So until the next episode, take care.